Hey everyone, welcome to the Naked Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Sage Hobbs, author and creator of Naked Communication, and I'm so psyched you're here. This show is all about taking charge of your life in new and inspired ways to create a life you deeply love. It's about being more you in all areas of your life, more courageous, more free, more alive, more naked. I'll be sharing stories and advice from amazing people around the world who are up to incredible things on how they are successfully breaking free from fear and old patterns in order to create incredible relationships and impactful lives so that you can do the same. This is the place to be inspired to live a courageous and naked life. Let's do this. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Naked Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Sage B. Hobbs, and I'm super psyched you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's been really forefront of mind for me lately, which is women friendships, girlfriends, and how to have better ones and why they're so important and why I feel like it's like a tool for sort of transformation in our lives, really. But before I do, I just want to let you know about some things going on over in the sagebhobbs.com world, which is that I have a group program ready to reopen soon. It's called the Naked Communication Experience. And if you're interested, I'd love you just to send me an email and I will make sure to get that information to you. You can just email me at sage@sagebhobbs.com. The program is going to start in the beginning of November. And it's small and intimate experience over 8 weeks' time. That's really, really extraordinary way of connecting with other amazing women who are into having great relationships, being fully self-expressed, deepening their communication with their partners, their loved ones, their children, and really showing up in meaningful ways in all the relationships in their lives. So it's Naked Communication Experience group program. And just fire me off an email so we can figure that out. So let's get on with it today. I am still exploring how to bring you the best, most fun way of listening to these solo shows. And what I've been doing so far is just listening in to my clients and over in the Facebook community and out in the world with the women I interact with on what are the things that they're really longing for and they want more information about. And they want to get better at it, quite frankly. And I have really, really been appreciating so deeply and profoundly my relationships with the women in my life lately, my girlfriends, that I really wanted to dive on that for a little bit because I find that that's something we're really craving and longing for. And I talked to many of my clients about it and just my friends themselves. So I want to dispel and debunk this sort of old narrative that women are catty, that they're gossipy, that they're backstabbing, that they're competitive, that there's only so much room for women at the top. You know, I really want to start getting rid of that old story and presenting another alternative to how women can support each other in the world. And Sheryl Sandberg wrote the book Lean In, which I can put a link to in the show notes. I really loved it. It's definitely more about sort of us women leaning into our power and our voice and our leadership. And she has a corporate background. She works for Facebook. But also there's this undercurrent of women helping women, women mentoring women, women really having each other's back. And I really feel like there's this newer conversation for the idea of a modern day sisterhood. And I kind of resist the word sisterhood, but I do feel this longing among women for soul sisters, people you can really be real with and really feel loved and supported by. Another person who's taking that out into the world is Chantal, who is the CEO of Emerging Women. I'm actually going to get to speak on their sister stage this fall. I'm really excited about it, but it really is about creating a culture of empowered women who support each other. And I know we all want that. I know we want that. So I just want to talk about that a little bit today. I want to debunk this whole thing around that women can't have awesome girlfriends. I have always had really good girlfriends, and I've actually kind of sucked at having male platonic relationships. So somebody else will have to do a podcast on that because that's not my jam. But having deep, meaningful, fulfilling, connected, safe, trusting, non-competitive, non-jealous girlfriends is my jam. And I know firsthand how profoundly powerful and fulfilling and satisfying it can be. So all of us women, we play a million different roles. We're moms, we're wives, lovers, daughters, friends, sisters, aunts, all of it, right? We play so many different roles, and it's kind of a dance to figure out, who you share what with and where you go deep and where you don't, right? And how you step into these relationships that really make you feel safe. So I really believe, like I said already, that it's, girlfriends are one of the most deeply satisfying, gratifying, fulfilling types of relationships you can have. And this is fresh on my mind because I just came off of a women's weekend where me and 3 of my girlfriends, there are 4 of us here in Colorado, get together every fall for a weekend away. And we've been doing it for years now. And the older we get, it just feels that much more sacred and significant. So I just turned 40 at the time of this recording, and I was really psyched to turn 40. As you know, if you've listened to me before, I have a history of being a cancer survivor. I lost my dad. I'm younger than most, and lots of things that have really had me have perspective on like appreciating my life. So I was cool with turning 40, and it was definitely like a milestone in terms of reflecting on how much I've been through and how much I've been through with the people in my life. So these 4 women, the 4 of us, we have been through some shit, man. We really have. We've been friends. Let's see. 2 of us were friends in college, so that's 20 years. The other 2 they were friends in college, so 20 years. And then we all introduced each other to each other. And we've been through death of parents. 3 of the 4 of us have lost a parent. 4th has a very ill parent right now and was being supported through that process over the weekend. We've been through chronic illness. We've been through infertility. We've been through lots of things together, parenting, becoming moms, figuring that out, navigating that path with our partners. So much. And without them, I literally would not be who I am today. And it's not just these 4 women. I have a collective of women in different parts of the country from different parts of my life who like super have my back and really see me as bigger than I see myself. Like when I'm down on myself or I'm doubtful or scared, even like launching this podcast and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm going to like get on a microphone and teach people what? I'm going to interview these like amazing movers and shakers in the world. What if I stumble over my words? They are like, Sage, are you kidding me? Like, this is what you're born to do. You've got this, right? Same with when I launched my book last summer, Naked Communication. I was freaking out. Like I wrote a book, like who am I to write a book? All of that stuff that just comes up because we're human. My girlfriend tribe is just like doesn't allow me to stay in that space. They just see me as more powerful and creative and capable than I see myself. And that's what I want for all of you who are listening who might be yearning for that, right? So here's the thing. You can't have that kind of depth and intimacy, woman to woman, if you're not willing to be more naked, right? If you're not willing to show them who you really are. You can't be fully loved if they can't fully see you for who you are. And this is kind of tricky because we're really conditioned a lot to, as women in Western society at least, to play nice, be polite, be, kind, put others first, don't make waves, whatever, you name it, right? And there's a lot of pressure to like have it all together. Actually, my mom gives me great insight on that as, I'm a mom now of a different generation than she was. And she's like, oh my gosh, you guys are so hard on yourselves now. Like, oh my gosh, how much TV should they watch or not watch? Screen time, media time, fruits, vegetables, sugar. She's like, everything is like demonized and challenging. She's like, whatever happened to the playpen where you could just put your kid in it with some toys? And I'm not saying we need to go back to, TV dinners of the 50s and playpens of the 70s and 80s, but really just the ways that we box ourselves in and hold ourselves to these unattainable levels of perfection. I think it has really cost us something as women in terms of our ability to connect heart to heart, soul to soul, face to face, real to real. Like we're spending a lot of energy kind of trying to act like we fit in or have it all together, right? And I say fit in because also sometimes it's going along with the narrative that is of misery or exhaustion or busy or overwhelmed. And so we feel like we have to be on this sort of rat race along with everyone else to fit in, when maybe that's not really true for us either. Maybe we actually are happy and our life is in flow and we're doing pretty well. And, but we pretend that it's chaos and overwhelm because if we don't pretend that, people might not like us, right? So it is so hard to have the kind of deep, meaningful, powerful female friendships if we're not kind of showing up in all of our imperfect glory, all of our messiness, all of our challenges and struggles and all of our humor and our quirks and our interests and all of our big-heartedness and lovingness, right? Really does take being willing to peel back some layers and get real with people if you want them to be real with you, right? Like I think I wrote about it in my book. I think I said this in there, maybe I said it somewhere else, but nobody really wants to tell their personal stuff to a perfect person, right? Like if we're acting like we have it all together, like people don't want to share with us, right? So here's what you can do. A few things. First, if you have an old story from middle school, and remember, I was a middle school counselor for a decade, so I spent so much time with middle school girls in my office, probably the number one thing I worked on the day-to-day. There were bigger, more traumatic and tragic things than this, but the thing that came up again and again was those girl relationships and the wounding that they did to themselves and each other while they were trying to make friends and navigate who they were and their jealousy and envy and all of that, right? So if you have, number one, if you have old stuff going on around women and girls not being trustworthy, bullying you, not being kind to you, never having your back, turning on you, whatever you might have that's from the past, I want to just invite you to let it go and to trust yourself now as an adult woman to forge new, fresh female connections without the baggage of whatever shitty thing happened when we were 12, 13, 14 years old. And in the book, actually, if you haven't read Naked Communication, I totally suggest grabbing it off Amazon. It's easy read. But there's a whole piece around these stories we tell ourselves, and they are our shackles. They keep us back so much. And we don't even realize they're stories. We think they're reality and truth. So that's what I tease out in the book, and you should check that out because it's really, really important. If you want to have great friendships, great girlfriends, then you got to be able to go for it now with the wisdom and skills that you have now. I mean, 13-year-old, it's a hard time of life. You're bouncing around and trying to figure out who you are. So try afresh now, but you got to let go of what you think is true from the past. So that's number one. The second thing I want to offer is being real, like really real, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, that doesn't mean with a stranger on the street. That doesn't mean you go around airing your so-called dirty laundry to everyone all the time. But the people that you say are your good friends, I want you to really evaluate and ask yourself, like, how real are you being with them? Could you go 1% deeper? Could you share 1% more? Could you be 1% more vulnerable, take 1% more of a risk in order to open that door a little bit wider so that you can step inside and they can greet you there and you can really, really see each other, woman to woman, in perfect glory, good, bad, and the ugly. That's number two. There are like 20 million of these. I think I chose 3 to 5 to share with you today. The third, and this is what I'm always working on, is compassion. Like so much more of it we need. So compassion for ourselves is the one I'm working on the most, is being compassionate with myself. We mess up. We say things we wish we wouldn't. We put our foot in our mouths. We are busy and rushed, and so we are flippant when we shouldn't be. We're not really present, right? Or we feel overwhelmed, and so we don't really tune in when our friends are trying to share something with us, and we're not really exercising the compassion required for the kind of deep and meaningful relationship you yearn for. So compassion for yourself and for your girlfriends. Like we're all doing the best we can with the skills we have. It's another thing that I talk about in my work. We're all doing the best we can with the skills we have, and we have different skill sets. We have different conditioning, different backgrounds, depending on the family system we came from, different messages we've received. It's so important, if you really, really want to have these girlfriends, that you practice more compassion or across the board, right? All the time, all the time. So the fourth thing is about less judging and more loving. I know it sounds kind of cheesy, like an old, 70s disco song maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, less judging, more loving is what I wrote down when it just came to me. And that feels super huge to me. Like we, by nature as human beings, we judge. Any of you who are thinking to yourself, I'm not judgmental, I want you to look at that again and just think of all of the million little micro assessments you make when you meet somebody, when you see somebody on television, hear this podcast, hear somebody on the radio, all the little teeny judgments you might be making about how they said what they said. They didn't say it the way you would say it, what they're wearing, what their hair looks like, how they're parenting their children. Oh my gosh, are they, attachment parenting, or are they doing, cry it out method, I remember feeling like, oh, wow, we are so judgmental as moms to moms. It was really painful for me to notice. And I had to really check that within myself because I felt myself doing it. So less judging and more loving. There are a million ways to interpret anything and lots of different ways to do things, quote unquote, right. Like we are different people having different experiences, making different choices, and we can still be really connected. But if we're expending a ton of energy judging how somebody else is doing it, that person's not going to really want to trust you to be your good friend. If they feel judged by you, you know how that is. If you're feeling judged by somebody, you're not opening your heart to them. So that's number 4, less judging, more loving. And then lastly, this one's a little tricky, but I want you to consider choosing your girlfriends based on like who's willing to play at that level also. If you're choosing surface level friendships, you're going to get surface level relationships, right? If you're choosing people who want to stay in that space, that's what you're going to get in return. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, let me just say, nothing wrong with having those kinds of relationships too. It's totally cool. Like I dropped my kids off at 2 different schools at the time of this recording. My daughter's 4, my son is 8. I spent a lot of time having kind of playground conversations with different parents. And some of them, because I've known them for years, I've gone deeper and deeper with, and many of them I never will. And they're totally pleasant, lovely, cordial conversations, but they're more surface level, and that's totally fine. So I'm not saying go deep everywhere. I'm saying if you want to have laugh your ass off until you pee in your pants, which actually did happen to one of us this past weekend, cry your eyes out because something in your life is super painful and you know that these people are going to hold you and support you and love the hell out of you. Confess your secrets and fears around things that aren't working, and you know that they're going to have your back and support you and carry you through. If you want that kind of girlfriend, you have to have the ability and the desire and the willingness to take the risk to go beyond the surface. So choose to engage with a few women who are also desiring to engage at that level. And look, sometimes that's uncomfortable or painful or awkward because the people we've been friends with for years sometimes aren't the ones who actually ever want to go there with us. And so we have to be willing to consider, do we need to make some new friends, or do we need to be the leader in those more surface level relationships and take those 1% risks to go deeper? How can you cultivate in your life the kinds of girlfriends you want to have? Because like I said, I really believe it's bullshit that women are catty and gossipy and backstabbing and the awful things that have been said about girlfriends in the past. And I really believe that if you can get a tribe of soul sisters, some really deep, honest, rich girlfriends in your life, just a few, it doesn't need to be a tribe of 20 or 30, your whole life is completely transformed. You have people who always have your back, people who you laugh and cry your eyes out with, on levels that you can't even imagine. And you have people who will see you as greater than you see you. And that will propel you forward. And we need to propel each other forward. We need to do that. We women need to do that. There is such a need for more love and courage from female voices on the planet. So that's what I have to say about friendship today, y'all. I hope that it lands with you. Again, if you're interested in taking a journey with me with a group of really cool women, hit me up with the email, sage@sagebhobbs.com, and I'll let you know about the group program that's going to open soon. But I want to leave you with the challenge, if you dare, to just examine your relationships. Just take a few minutes and do a little scan of who are my girlfriends and who are the ones that I really feel loved and supported by already? And could it be deeper? Could we go further there? Or who are the ones that really don't fill me up? And how can I use less energy in those relationships and devote more energy to the ones that really, really gratify me, right? So just do a little inventory for yourself. And then I challenge you just to go a little deeper with the ones that feel right, where you feel oh yeah, I'm so into that one. Where you have that girl friendship crush and you're dude, we're going to be good pals. I wanted you to consider what it would take for you to open that door a little wider and step into an incredible relationship that fills you up in deep, meaningful ways. So thank you so much for listening. Tune in soon for Naked Conversations. I have been interviewing some really cool women, so I'm really excited to share what they have to say with you. Talk next time. Thank you so much for listening to Naked Conversations. Yay! It really means the world to me every time you show up. And if you want to know more about how to work with me personally in my coaching, you can check that out over at sagebhabs.com. You can also get some great free resources over there about how to make powerful requests and many blog posts full of resources for living a naked life, as well as grab a copy of my book, Naked Communication, Courageously Create the Relationships You Really Want. And lastly, keep the conversation going with us over in the Facebook community, sagebhabs.com/Facebook, where we can keep talking about these super important and powerful topics of living a life fully expressed. Thanks again. See you next time.